Hello, welcome. Welcome to this episode, an interest rate outlook for 2024. I'm so excited that you guys are here. You know, interest rates in 2023 went crazy. They skyrocketed up to 8%. They were in the low 8% ranges, and that really put a lot of home buyers and home sellers that wanted to move up to a new home or even downsize as well too, but just get a move going on both sides of the fence. It really put a lot of people on hold. And so I have some really good news. And you're probably hearing this all over social media already. And I wanted to provide an outlook. So I thought of you guys as I was watching the market outlook from Brian Buffini and Lawrence Yun. Let me tell you a little bit about them so you have a little bit of knowledge of who these two people are. Okay, let's start with Lawrence Yun. He's the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. He supervises and is responsible for a wide range of research activity for the association, including NAR's existing home sales statistics, the affordability index, and home buyers and sellers profile report. So he has a wealth of information. And next, Brian Buffini. He is actually a real estate coach and motivational speaker. I was actually a part of his coaching program, which is why I know about Brian Buffini and I trust his information. He does a lot of research. So I compiled the hour-long video into 9 minutes, just highlighting the interest rate forecast for you. We're gonna watch it together. I hope you have your favorite drink. I have my lemon balm tea. Let me take a little sip. And we are ready to go, you guys. Let's watch it. Let's watch it together.
Talk about interest rates, because the rates are already the 10-year Treasury. It hit 5% at one moment, and now it's back down to 4.25%. And without the Fed making any changes, the market's already made changes. Interest rates went up to as high as 8% and came down to 7.25%. And this obviously just sometimes confuses people in the markets, that ultimately we need the Fed to cut rates for interest rates to come down, but the market itself can adjust and bring rates down a little bit without the Fed being involved. But let's talk about interest rates. Where do you think they are and where they're going to be?
Well, just as you said, recently mortgage rate at 7.2%, and I think it's going to go down further because even as the Fed is not making any move, the bond market is trying to predict what the Fed will be doing next year. And based on the bond market, they're essentially telling the Fed, look, economy is beginning to slow down. Inflation is calmer, much calmer than before. There are some issues with some community bank. It is time to cut interest rates. So I think the Federal Reserve is probably going to cut interest rates 3 or 4 times. The bond market is anticipating that move and has pivoted already. Consequently, mortgage rate approaching 7%. Now, let's remember, consumers have new reference point. They saw that 8% rate. So when they compare 7% with 8%, they said this is improvement compared to, say, 1 year ago when the mortgage rates were hitting 7%, but their reference point were 6% or even 3 or 4%, and they said 7% is way too high. Mm-hmm. So as mortgage rate goes down to 7%, it will look favorable, but I think it's going to go even below 7%. 6.5% in spring. I think that's a distinct possibility.
Beautiful.
And Sharon, that there's a significant pent-up desire for sellers to move. Obviously, the rates come down, but if there's no inventory, we're in trouble. So maybe you can speak to it as well. I was excited to see this because this is what our research has shown. There's a lot of people who want.
Pause. That's exactly our problem, is that we don't have a lot of inventory. So hopefully this will, if a lot of the sellers are on the fence, this will bring more sellers into the market so that buyers have more opportunities to look at homes. So let's continue.
On a move, and maybe you could speak to that.
Well, the mortgage rates are very important for buying activity, but also the inventory availability is also important for buying activity. Newly constructed home sales, believe it or not, they will do better this year in 2023 compared to last year. And going into next year, the home builders will even do better. And the reasoning is they can create inventory. On the existing home side, well, we saw that homeowners refused to list their property. Inventory in 2023 were roughly half of what it was pre-COVID 2019. because people are just enjoying their 3% rate, 4% rate, unwilling to give that up. So we had low listings. Nonetheless, over the past 2 years, when the listings were low, life has moved on. Life-changing circumstances. 7 million newborn babies. People need to trade up. 3 million marriages, 1.5 million divorces, 7 million Americans turning 65 where they want to trade down. So all these factors, the last line, 50 million job switches. This means that if they are living in the same home, different job, well, maybe the remote work helps some degree, but when they have to go to office, it is a different commuting patterns. And maybe they're saying, well, I'm tired of this commute. I need a home that is closer to my job. So I think there is a pent up sellers just waiting in the wings, just waiting for the mortgage rate to be just modestly lower before making that move.
You already know, you talked about the new construction. The builders have been able to create that momentum, and they've been buying down rates. They create the inventory, but they've been buying down interest rates below 6%, and they found that's the magic number at which their inventory is moving off the shelves. And so what people have to understand is that, the new construction leads the way. And what we're seeing is get below 6%, the world changes. So I want to share with you this. Rates are going to drop. Rates are going to drop. That's my bold prediction. Not any great shock in that. But bottom line is the Federal Reserve has a stated policy. They want a 2% inflation rate. Okay, so what's happened? Inflation went in fourth quarter of 2020. It was at 1.2%. That's why rates were so low. It went all the way up to 9% in the third quarter of 2022. Now, in the fourth quarter of this year, inflation's down to 3.2%. By August of next year, it's planned to be at 1.86. Okay? So we've had this big run up in inflation. Inflation is a deadly thing. It does have to be curbed. The Fed raised rates at the highest volume in the quickest amount of time in the history of the Federal Reserve.
Right.
That's why it's been so challenging. The reflection in the interest rates went from 3.72, which is a really good rate. That's a great rate. That's a normal market. That's a good market. Then we went to COVID adjusted numbers of 2.6 and 3.2. Those are artificially adjusted interest rates. So if you're talking to a buyer and say, look, you're never seeing that again unless there's another worldwide crisis of some sort. Okay? Those are artificially stimulatedly created rates. And what happened in 2023, we went up to 7.22. Well, we actually crested at 8%. We crested at 8%. So to go from 2.6 to 8%, that is a shock to the system.
Yeah.
So what do I project? I project that we'll finish next year at 5.75.
Nice.
I think we'll see, and as we are already seeing, the bond market is already pulling down the interest rates without the Fed. And so we're going to continue to see this downward pressure. I believe you'll see cuts in mid-year of next year. I'd say about July, you're going to see the Fed actually make the formal cuts. It'll be 8 months. And then you're going to see a series of cuts, maybe 3 to 4 to 5. And I believe we'll finish the year below 6%. And the reason that's such an important number, that number's already been proven by the home builders that they're buying down rates to 6 and below is the number at which they've gotten buyers massively into the game. Sellers have even sold to upgrade into a new home. So we know that's a magic number right now. So it's already been proven. There's no mystery in this. And I say they're bold predictions because there's a lot of evidence to support it. I will also say the rates are going to continue to be cut.
Yes.
And we'll be at 5% in 2025. What do I think that does to the...
So if you guys are not ready to buy in 2024, 2025 is going to be a good year too.
Transaction flow? Well, we were at 5.6 million transactions. Then we went up to 6.1 at the peak. Down to 5.1. The thing about 5.1, that million less transactions didn't feel that bad because prices were high. There were multiple offers. Rates were still low. Consumers were happy. So even though in 2022, everybody felt like they were doing great. In fact, most people would say they had their best year ever in real estate. It didn't feel that bad. This year, at the end of the year, it felt bad. So I believe we're going to finish the year at 3.9. which will be over 20% drop. But I believe you'll see this. Now, most people are predicting that the market next year will be the same as it is this year. And I categorically argue with that, and I'll go on record saying it, and I'm going to call my shot. And the reason I will say this, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I'm putting Buffini and Company's investments where my mouth is. This will not be the case. What you're going to see is a tight first quarter, a loosening second quarter. Rates are going to drop in the third, fourth, and fourth quarters, and we'll be off to the races. There will be an extraordinarily strong finish to next year. I'm projecting around 4.6 million sales, about a 20% increase next year. I also believe that's going to boomerang and continue to horseshoe around into 2025. I think we're going to have the biggest selling season in the spring of 2025 we've had in 10 years. And we're going to have a very, very solid 2025 with about another 15% growth.
Okay, really quick, let me do a quick pause. When buyers come on the market, what's going to happen is what's going to happen is we're going to have like a flood, especially in the very beginning, April, in the second quarter, third quarter. That's going to increase prices. So I just want to throw that out there. So if you're thinking of buying and going in that place, know that that's also going to be something that you might experience is there's going to be multiple offers on properties because there's limited inventory. And so that's going to drive up prices as well too. So if you're thinking of selling 2024, 2025 with interest rates lower, that's going to be a great thing for you.
So rates are going to drop. There's no great prognosis there. They've raised them artificially high. Lots of government spending, which is why we have higher rates for longer is the principle. But it is the stated policy of the Fed to get to 2% inflation. That's going to hit mid-year. And that's when you'll really start to see these cuts happen. There's also an election next year. And trust me, there's political pressure. High interest rates will also get a push from the politics.
That's right. The presidential election, for sure, for sure. There it is. What is your guys' opinion? Let me know in the comment section of what you thought about this, because I know, everybody has their opinion, everybody has their market outlook and what they predict. But I think overall, what everyone is saying and what everyone can agree to is that interest rates are going to lower in 2024 and even more than in 2025. So if this speaks to you, and I always tell people, because people do ask me, that's like the number one question that people ask me is, Michelle, when is it a good time to buy? Because a lot of times people want to plan and time their purchase, which is smart because you got to be strategic about things, right? I always tell people the right time to buy is when you're able to, because real estate fluctuates. Right now there's not a lot of inventory, interest rates are high. So the probability of you getting a good deal on a property is very high. I'm seeing a lot of price reductions right now. There's new listings coming on, but I'm also seeing property going back on the market too right now. That's a common theme. So when interest rates lower, people are going to come into the market and they're going to snatch up these properties, and there's going to be more than one person wanting to buy that house. There's going to be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, which is going to drive up prices. So it's always kind of like this ebb and flow in real estate. But what I can say is, especially here in Southern California, all across the board, the trend has always been an increase in sales, an increase in values. So values are rising. That's why I'm saying just get in when you're able to. That's my advice. And if you are thinking about purchasing a home in 2024, or if you're thinking about selling a home in 2024, I specialize in assisting first-time home buyers and first-time home sellers in the residential space. So if this is you, grab the link on the QR code here, schedule a call with me. There's going to be some different topics so you can choose which one fits your needs, and let's have a conversation. I hope this information is helpful. It's the end of the year, end of 2023. Happy holidays, everyone. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.